We learn that history is a set meal, a fixed menu. You've got your appetizers, like the Great Migration, your entree, the War of Independence, and dessert, the Great Society. They tell you it's a science, that if you follow the recipe, you get the same result every time. They are lying to you. Real history, the stuff that actually happened, it's not clean, it's messy. It's loud, it's sweaty, primal, and often smells like fear and cheap gin. It's a slaughterhouse, not a grocery store. But historiography? That's the kitchen. That's where the raw, bloody facts get brought in, chopped up, seasoned with ideology, and plated so you can digest them without getting sick. The people in power, they don't want the truth. Truth is dangerous. The truth starts revolutions. They want a story. They want a narrative that explains why they are in charge. And they are willing to put history on the grill, sear off the bits they don't like, and serve you the sizzle. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is the business of statecraft. You are what you eat, and they have been feeding you the same recycled truths for 5,000 years. Philadelphia, sacred ground. The place where the band got together. If you're an American politician, you don't just visit Philly, you go to pray. You go to soak in the legitimacy of the OGs. And in 2000, standing in that shadow, George W. Bush drops a punchline that is secretly a masterclass in this whole dirty business.
Thank you for this honor. Together, we will renew America's purpose. Our founders first defined that purpose here in Philadelphia. Ben Franklin was here, Thomas Jefferson, and of course, George Washington, or as his friends called him, George W.
George W. It's a good line and the audience laughs. Why? Because it brings the untouchable icon of Washington down to earth. It humanizes the demigod. It suggests that if Washington was alive, he'd be the guy you'd grab a beer with. And maybe, just maybe, he'd be on the same ticket as this other George W. And this is the central trick. Using historical proximity to manufacture continuity. You don't have to prove you're as good as Washington. You just have to make people feel like you're from the same family. A 200-year-old truth ground up and seasoned to make a 21st century candidate taste more palatable. And this didn't start in Texas. It didn't start in Pennsylvania. This is the universal language of power. Every regime has to write its own cookbook. Mussolini, for instance, a failed journalist with a big jaw and a taste for brutality. He knew that Italian fascism was a weak, fabricated menu. But the Third Rome? That's a meal. And he didn't just study Roman history, he excavated it. He bulldozed modern buildings just to make the ancient ruins more visible from his balcony. He used the fascists, the ancient bundle of rods, as his symbol. It wasn't nostalgia, it was a hostile takeover of the past. If you control the ruins, you control the destiny. Or Stalin, the ultimate cynic. The Bolsheviks built their entire reality on destroying the Tsarist past, until Hitler got within 20 miles of Moscow. Suddenly, communism wasn't enough to get men to run into machine gun fire. Stalin, the master butcher, needed a new ingredient. Overnight, he reintroduced the stories of the old Tsarist generals he once despised. He built monuments not to the working class, but to the Great Patriotic War. He recognized that historical nationalism is a stronger flavor than theoretical economics. He used the very truth he tried to kill to save his life. Napoleon in Egypt? That was purely a branding exercise. He didn't bring troops to explore. He brought 160 scholars and artists. He wanted to document everything, to package Egyptian history not as it was, but as he encountered it. He was plating himself as the next Alexander, bringing civilization to the dark places, and the history he recorded became the only history Europe consumed. But sometimes the politics of truth isn't about celebrating the past, it's about killing it. For thousands of years, Imperial China operated on a brutal, effective system. A new dynasty takes over? Step 1. Rewrite the official history of the guys you just killed. You had to prove that the previous emperor had become corrupt, or that natural disasters were a sign of divine displeasure. Why? To justify your own bloody, messy coup. You had to show that the previous administration, if you will, lost the mandate of heaven. If you control the final draft of history, your treason becomes divine necessity. And right here at home in the US, the lost cause, the original sin of American historiography. After the Civil War, the South was destroyed. Morally, physically, economically, militarily. A generation of leaders had been disgraced. So what do? They start writing. They create a myth, a knighthood of honorable men defending states' rights. And they waited 30 years, before they started mass producing the statues of Lee and Jackson. And it was a brilliant, wicked lie. By turning their defeated pro-slavery ancestors into flawless, tragic heroes, they were able to rewrite the narrative of why the war happened. This truth served one precise political goal: to restore white supremacy and support Jim Crow. This isn't just about bad memory. It's about weaponized history to rebuild the social hierarchy. If you want to see the politics of truth in its most distilled, essential, and terrifying form, go to South Africa. For the Afrikaner National Party, the architects of apartheid, history wasn't a story. It was a religious contract. They built their entire moral universe around one single event, the 1838 Battle of Blood River. They claimed they made a covenant with God. If he gave them victory over the Zulu army, they would build a church and keep that day holy forever. Well, they won, and that victory became the only truth they needed. This single mythologized event became the justification for everything. They argued that the Afrikaners were a chosen people, and crucially, that they and the black tribes had both arrived in South Africa at the same time. The history they wrote proved that the land was empty when they took it. It made apartheid geographical separation feel not like racism, but like divine fulfillment. If God gave you the land and the history books prove you got there first, then morality is no longer relevant. This was the absolute weaponization of historical truth. So what did we learn? History is what happened, but historiography is what they want you to remember. It's a manufacturing process. It's a butcher shop. It's the kitchen where every leader, from ancient China to the modern West, goes to find the ingredients to season their own power. They will use the parts that make them look inevitable. They will trim away the bits that make them look human. And if the truth doesn't fit, they'll forge a new one. When you hear a politician quote the founders, or invokes a glorious myth, or warns you about a lost cause, don't ask if it's true. Instead ask, who is serving this to me, and what is the purpose? Truth is rarely simple. It's rarely plated nicely. If they offer you history on a silver platter, be suspicious. They're just trying to feed you.